news, and like all of us got the news about Keke Palmer. Triggering. Extremely triggering for me. So, survivor of physical abuse looks like. It looks like me. It looks like me, and probably people that you pass on the street every day, people that you work with. There's no particular look for it. There's no social, economic, no status for it. It happens all the time, unfortunately. And in all walks of life, and so many different people. Didn't tell anybody for a really long time. And I think the worst of the abuse happened. And surely there was the love bombing. He was my high school sweetheart. You know, we were together all the time, and he was lavishing me with everything. You know, jewelry, money. He was very much at that time my caregiver. You know, my family had ran into some financial problems at that time, and he was at the time my financial savior. He was at the time my family's financial savior. He was there to assist them and assist me in any way I needed, financially, physically, emotionally. And it didn't. I also was in a family that had a lot of dysfunction. You know, there was a cycle of abuse and dysfunction there. So I needed an escape. I thought I would find an escape in him. Okay? And all of this time, this is happening. Everybody that knows me feels like my life is perfect because I'm modeling. I'm participating in pageants. I'm doing all sorts of things that would make people on the outside seem like my life is pretty good. But the truth was, it was very much fractured. There was a lot of sadness going on within me. I didn't have a lot of people that I felt like I could talk to. I was the oldest of my mother's children. And I had a good stepfather, but he had vices, you know? And I think I shared with a lot of people that my mother suffered some mental illness back then. She was on. There is very much a stigma associated with it. It is definitely shrouded in shame, or at least for me it was. At that time, I was so young. There was so much blame associated with it too. It was my fault. You know, I was always told it was my fault. I was to this, I was to that. I did something to make this person treat me that way, was how I felt. Now, of course, hindsight is 20/20. But I was 16 at the time. So I didn't have the maturity nor the discernment to be able to pick up on the red flags then. When I stop and I think now, of course, as a mature woman, I can see it. Now, my discernment is so key and so strong, I can see it immediately. And I always warn my daughters, not that one. Be careful, that one, because I can feel it. It's like it tingles all over me, and it's not a good tingle. I'm just keenly aware of it now. But there were signs, and I just couldn't see them. But I can remember hours after having my son, hours after having my child, my ex-husband at the time came into the room, and he was saying things like his mother wanted to do something and decorate the apartment or something, and I didn't want her to. So I remember, you know, being like, oh, I don't want her to. And it wasn't I don't think I said it in a way that should have warranted what he did, but he started to choke me while I laid in the bed hours after having a baby. He started to choke me so hard, and I don't remember. I almost blacked out because I was already weak from giving birth. And I think the door or somebody coming in to check on me is what stopped him. But that was the first time that he put his hands on me. The abuse would escalate and get worse. He would literally fight me, beat me up for years, every day. He was extremely methodical because I still was modeling, and I would go around my friends or my family. So he would wrap a towel around his hands. He'd wrap a towel and punch me about my body, but the towel would prevent me from bruising. And he would hit me around the head and the midsection, my back. And he would taunt me and say things like, I needed to take it because he needed to beat me to show me he didn't like something I said, something that I wear, something that I didn't do. I don't know what was going on inside of his mind, but he has never to this day admitted the severity of which he abused me. He never would own it. He still hasn't taken accountability for it. He still hasn't. And it's been almost 3 decades. But he would say, "Oh, don't get an unlucky one," meaning one that would hit me in the face. Because he would also like to, ridicule me about, "Oh, you think you're so pretty. Oh, if I mess up your face," those kind of things. And he called me a whore and a slut and tell me nobody would ever want me but him. And if any man ever dared want me, they'd only want me for sex. Because I was pretty good at sex, is what he would tell me. And this was the type of thing that he did for me. Y'all, I'm going to wrap this up because I'm supposed to be doing something else. I can remember I left and I came back. I would never tell anybody why I was leaving, but a few people knew. My cousin Vanessa had an inkling because she was just sharp and smart. I can remember driving down the road one day, and he was driving, and he said he was going to kill us both, and he was punching me while driving, and just one of many times. But for some reason, he consented to go to a Bible study with some elders that attended my mother's church, the Joneses. And this is where it changed for me. So I can remember going to this dinner, and he was on his best behavior. And let me tell you what, this man always behaved like he could absolutely eat me. Like he could just eat me. Because he always behaved that way. He always wanted to show me off. I was his arm candy. He always he was into public displays of affection. He wanted everybody to know that I was his and that he adored me. This is how he presented. We were at that Bible study with that couple, and they're an older couple, beautiful couple. And for some reason, the husband knew that my husband was into cars at the time, so he kind of led him outside. And when they went outside, she leaned over to me. She said, "Baby, you got to get away from him. You got to get out." And in that moment, I wanted to just cry because I had been pretending for so long. I had been pretending that things were good. I had been faking it for so long that I couldn't believe somebody could see it without me saying a word. As everyone can see, I'm back. I'm safe at home. I'm not driving anymore. Initially, when I saw and I heard about what happened to Keke Palmer, I was heartbroken for her and her family. It's a terrible position, a terrible thing to go through. But you know what's almost worse is the reaction from other women. Am I surprised that other women behave that way and had such vitriol for her? Unfortunately, I'm not. It's very reminiscent to what I went through. I had people, women, extremely close to me that were just as nasty, just as mean. Some people relished in it. I thought I was so much. I think I'm so cute. I bet he whooped her ass. Things of that nature. It was so lonely. It was so lonely. But what it did, it made me guarded. And for many years, it made me not trust. Years now, I've had a lot of time to heal, and it is a process. It is a process. Sometimes I still get triggered, you know? I think I shared on somebody's panel that my ex-husband taught me how to fight. And I say that flippantly, but it's a horrible thing to experience, that I had to learn how to defend myself at 110 pounds, 120 pounds, 130 pounds against a 225, 230 pound man who made me defend myself. But ultimately what I did was I defended my heart, my soul. I want to say that it happens. It happens to women from all walks of life. And if you are in a position where you are being abused, please seek some help. Be careful. Be careful. But please seek some help. Find someone that you trust and get out, because it will escalate. It's not going to get better. Now, do I believe that there's rehabilitation for people who abuse? Absolutely. But they have to want to change. Do I believe that people can be contrite and sorry and go on to lead better lives? Absolutely. But they have to want to seek the help. I felt, and thank God for the woman who gave me permission all those many years ago, and who could see. I don't even know how she saw, because we were doing nothing but sitting there. And that was my cue. I took it. I believed her because I was living it. Okay. And there's so much more that happened throughout that process, but it doesn't define me anymore. I've moved on, and I just wanted to share. I hope this connects my heart to yours.